Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say, it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Thursday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We've got our normal Thursday lineup. Our college football analyst Brent Beaird will be joining us in just a second. And then we'll kick off our Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup with Mike Ridaught from the prepzone.com. Be the second round of your high school football playoffs. And volleyball is winding down. Santa Fe, congratulations to them. They won the state title in volleyball. But let's head on over to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Heisman Trophy voter, Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Shane, I'm doing well. We have a full slate, do we not, for this coming Saturday after we had some folks off a little bit earlier in late October and so forth. So that is good. We got a lot of bye games, as they call them, but we've still got about 3 or 4 teams in the league who are around 5-5 and 500. That is, so they need the win. So glad to be going on another Saturday. And Shane, I know you looked at it like I have. How in the world did we get to this point? We only have 2 games left in the regular season.
Yeah, it goes by way too fast. Way too fast. Maybe that's a good thing if you're a fan of some teams. Get it over with, right?
Yeah.
Brent, let's talk about the playoffs, the rankings or what have you. I don't think there was many surprises Tuesday night when they came out.
No, basically the same as what we thought it probably would. Georgia, Bama, Oregon, Ohio State in the top 4, and then just right outside Cincinnati at 5. Michigan at 6 and Michigan State at 7. The committee still has the Michigan over Michigan State, even though Michigan State beat them. Notre Dame still in the mix. Oklahoma at 9. Now Oklahoma lost last weekend, obviously, so they to Baylor, so they are at number 13. And I guess the committee got that right, Shane. Baylor's 11, Oklahoma's 13.
Yeah, OU did not look very good in that game at all.
No.
We got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. John wants to know, Brent, I don't ever remember the Heisman race being this wide open. Who is your top 3 at this moment?
Look, I agree with him totally. And I'm struggling with this. I'll be honest with you. It kind of depends on the week. Matt Corral is still up there as far as I'm concerned. Listen, I'm going to vote for a defensive player, and I may even vote for 2 of them. Will Anderson of Alabama, the linebacker, deserves it, frankly, and Davis at Georgia. I would say it would be the same thing. Jordan Davis. By the way, Jordan Davis, Will Anderson, and Kayvon Thibodeau, the finalists for the Bronco Nagurski Award. That's just an amazing trio, to say the least. But Bryce Young is in there from Alabama, C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, Kenneth Walker from Michigan State, too. So, listen, this will go down to the last minute. I never vote until the Sunday after the championship weekend or the Monday morning thereof. So I love the question because I'm as torn on this as anybody is.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time. I mean, if I was voting, I don't even know who I would even start with, quite honestly.
Sure.
It's so wide open, and nobody's having that one year, you know. Tommy asked here on Facebook Live, he goes, if we qualify, what bowl game do you think the Gators will go to?
I can tell you that the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl would love to have them. It'd be a short trip, obviously, for a lot of people. I think if you don't meet your goals of obviously going to the SEC championship game and having a chance for the playoff, you probably would prefer having a bowl in your own state, and then hoping for better things after that. I would say for Gator fans, after they spend the money they did during the season on tickets, probably something that's a decent drive. I mean, everybody wants to go to the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl, but you just don't do it every year. So if you can't do that, I would say something close would be beneficial.
Yeah, I don't even know if we're even qualified for the Music City Bowl, but that's the bowl I would, if the Gators go to one, that's the one I would root for. Good point, too. Brent, there's a few teams that are already bowl eligible that haven't been to a bowl in quite some time.
I thought that was interesting. Arkansas is one of those who are going. Oregon State, not since 2013. East Carolina is interesting, not since 2014. UTEP 2016. Texas Tech, UCLA also involved with that. Fresno and Northern Illinois and Purdue. I watched Northern Illinois last night, and they had a nice little win. And if people are watching Maction on Tuesday and Wednesday, look, you made the statement a few weeks ago, and I thought about this last night, and I agree with it totally. Shane, those teams need to play. I know it's probably inconvenient, but they need to play as many Tuesday and Wednesday games as they can, because they're basically the only game on television.
Yeah, I would be curious, and I'm sure they've looked at the numbers. I wonder what their attendance is on a Saturday game compared to what it is on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. Now, let's be honest. There ain't many people in these stands, but I can't see it being dramatically different on a Saturday. I just don't think they draw very well. But, yeah, I wish they would play all their games on Tuesday and Wednesday nights for us football fans. Brent, coaches continue to get fired. There's a ton of them this year so far. I'm sure there'll be more at the end of the year. Are you surprised at all the coaching changes going on right now?
No, because the early signing period is less than a month away. So coaches want to, and administrators, they won't change, and they won't change earlier than ever. So, look, with it being, and you'll see a lot more gearing up over the next couple of weeks as the season winds down. There's a quote that Shane and I are sharing in our notes here. I thought was interesting. A current athletic director was asked about the coaching changes. His quote was, "Those schools messed up on their evaluations on the coaching fit. Pressure makes cowards of all of us, and patience is non-existent when you have money on the line. Factor in the early signing period, and bingo, you get to flinching to fire people early." How about that, Shane? Does that sum it up?
Yeah, pretty much. There's no doubt about it. We got a text here on the Titan Noir text line from Ryan. He says, Brent, what are the boys in Vegas seeing that would compel them to have Florida an 8.5-point favorite? We know that LSU, Georgia, and South Carolina all pounded Florida with the ground game, and know they now face a great running back in Beatty. And Shane, I'm hoping Mullen doesn't try to outsmart the room. Missouri ranks 129th out of 130 versus the run. So it don't take a genius to figure out what the game plan should be. However, South Carolina ranked 90th versus the run, and he opened the game with 12 straight pass plays. This game should belong to Pierce, Davis, and Rice, with combined 40 to 50 carries. Heck, if Pierce got 15 to 20 a game like Beatty does, he'd be right up there with him as far as stats go. Thanks for the text, Ryan. Yeah, it should be a lot of running in this game, because I don't think either team can stop the run, quite honestly.
No.
We got another Facebook Live here before we jump into the conference talk. John says, Brent, what do you think about Freeze to Virginia Tech? Already in Virginia and has proven he can win at the Power 5 level.
Well, Freeze would do a good job there. But by the way, kudos to Ryan for the summation of the game. I thought that was good research. Look, if Freeze is ready to make a move, but I'll say this, and I know you've shared that you've been up there, but Liberty's got facilities that people don't realize, right, Shane?
Correct.
And they've got money that people don't realize. And look, I'm not saying if you have a chance to go to Virginia Tech, you wouldn't do that. Of course you would. Now, what I've also seen over the last 24 hours is Virginia Tech would like to talk to Dave Carlson at Wake Forest, who's done a really good job and continues to do that. Now, I don't know if that, Shane, I don't know if that is the job that Beamer left it when he retired, but I still think that's a pretty good job. I thought Justin Fuente was going to really do well there, but it just did not work for a variety of reasons. So yes, I would say Freeze, Clausen, that those are certainly guys that I would think they would be looking at.
Yeah. Another text on the Titan Tomorrow text line. I don't know who it's from, but it's a good question. He says, when kids commit and sign during the early signing period, can they change their mind if a coach gets fired or hired?
No. Unfortunately, that's a great question, but that really has not happened, and they need to address that. Now, look, we've got the new transfer rule where you can transfer one time without losing a year of eligibility. And maybe, Shane, that's what someone would need to do in a situation like that. But that has been a debate now for decades. Is okay if the coach jumps ship and I sign because the coach, shouldn't I be able to leave? So, and that's also why people have the advice. Look, if you're going to go to a school, go to the school for the school, not just for the coach.
Yep. Turn your car or truck into a rolling billboard for your business or brand with an eye-catching vehicle wrap from Rat Spot. This November, mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with our college football analyst, Brent Beaird, on the Titan MR hotline. All right, Brent, let's jump into the conference. I'll start with Alabama. They got some help. All they have to do now is win Saturday against Arkansas, and they go to Atlanta.
That's right. A win over Arkansas or Auburn puts Alabama in the SEC championship game. This is a home game. They beat New Mexico State 59-3, but it was very costly for them because of the injuries that came up during the game. They lost Rodell Williams, one of their better running backs. He is out, frankly, for the year. JoJo Earl, who is a receiver and punt returner, he had a injury that was not as serious. He should be back for the postseason, but that's the problem. Anytime you play, you could lose guys. Now, this is a really difficult game for Alabama because Arkansas is really a very good football team, and they've got a defense with guys like Bumper Poole and Grant Morgan, Trey Williams, who's going to give Alabama some trouble. Bear Odom's a very good D coordinator. And look, Arkansas can move the ball in a lot of ways too. So Bama's going to have to be careful with guys like KJ Jefferson, the Traylons, as we like to call them, at running back and wide receiver, are also very good. So Shane, I wouldn't all be surprised if this game is close in the fourth quarter, and or if Alabama even has to come back and win it before the end of the game.
Yeah, Arkansas is one of those kind of teams that can, I don't want to say lull you to sleep, but their style of play, it's kind of slow, methodical, and, they play decent defense, but I agree it could be a close game. Auburn blows a huge lead. I said last week my SEC Coach of the Year was Brian Harsin. I'm changing that now, Brent.
Yeah, I understand.
It's either going to be Sam Pittman or Mike Leach. But, boy, to have 40 unanswered points scored on you at home, that's hard to believe.
Well, it is. It was historical because this never happened before. I mean, there's so many things that happened in the game. Auburn on defense had 8 penalties for 83 yards. Now, this is amazing to think about this. And I get it that this is kind of dink and dunk. Will Rogers, a Mississippi State quarterback, in the last 30 minutes completed 24 of 26 passes. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it, Shane? Now, a problem that Auburn's going to have is T.D. Moultrie, one of their better defensive players, was caught for targeting, so he's going to miss the first half of the South Carolina game. We don't know about Owen Papo, one of their better linebackers. He's had a high ankle sprain. He missed the game last week, too. Now, the big deal here is, probably most people heard this by now, Bo Nix broke his ankle, so he is out for the rest of the year. Now, to compound things, and this is kind of going under the radar, but Anders Carlson, the field goal kicker for Auburn, is one of the better field goal kickers in the league, and one of the most valuable players this year for Auburn. Somehow, Shane, some way, he tore an ACL in the Mississippi State game, and he is out. So that is a real blow for them. So going to South Carolina, they've got to really get things going quickly. We don't quite know yet who's going to be the quarterback of South Carolina. Maybe a guy named Jason Brown. Mercy.
Yeah.
But the thing that you've got here, Shane, and just a real quick question for you, is one of the things that Bo did, besides running around, kind of Johnny Manziel-like at times, was he threw long to the outside. TJ Finley, the LSU transfer, throws more to the middle of the field and shorter passes. I'm just wondering, from a quarterback point of view, does that help or hurt Auburn, or is it kind of neutral?
Well, I don't know. Usually the big strong arm guys like to throw it outside, and if you don't have a great arm, you like to keep it inside the middle. But some guys can't throw inside the middle because there's so much congestion in there, they get nervous. So I don't. That's an interesting stat you threw out there. I think Bo Nix's style of play probably allows more throws on the outside because he's running around crazy all the time and throwing the ball towards the boundary. But yeah, speaking of Auburn, John, we got a Facebook Live from John here, and he's jumping ahead a week. He's like, what chance does Auburn have of winning the Iron Bowl? He says Bo Nix's freshman year, they were able to pull it off in a wild game. I don't see them. I thought Auburn was playing really well, and I thought their defense had been playing well, and the way they were running the football, they could have given Alabama some issues, but I don't see that now with Bo Nix. Now, TJ Finley may come out and play lights out, but I just don't see Auburn beating Alabama now.
Well, let me just say this real quick. I'll expand on this next week. It is strange things happen in that game at Auburn, and look, this is a reality. The Alabama coaching staff coached very tight in that game. That game really stresses them, and it has a lot to affect on them. They overcoach in that game, so that's always something Alabama has to be careful of when they go to Auburn.
Yeah, no question about it. Let's jump to the Florida-Missouri game. Two teams that are 5-5. As we mentioned earlier, they have the leading rusher in the SEC in Beatty. I really like their quarterback, Connor Bazelak. They've struggled here at times, but how do you see this game playing out, Brent?
Well, this is a very dangerous game for Florida. I think a lot of it's going to depend on they can win the game, and I think it was Ryan who made the comment earlier in his analysis. Damian Pierce needs to run the ball a lot more. I'm really surprised he hadn't had double-digit carries the whole year. But
I don't think it's going to change.
It may not. Now, obviously, Emory Jones played real well last week. I give him a lot of credit. Now, Missouri, who is, and Ryan was right, they were 129 of 130 in rush defense. They actually held South Carolina at only 57 yards. Now, that may have been your proverbial even a blind squirrel finds an acorn. That they had a good week in stopping the run, but they were able to do that. Now, Tyler Beatty has, in 3 of the last 5 games, he has rushed not for 100 yards, over 200 yards. This guy is that good. Now, Shane had a good point about Connor Basilak. Between injuries and struggling some the last couple of games, they've also played Brady Cook. Now, Basilak has 15 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Now, Shane, that's not a real good, is it, touchdown-interception ratio? But the reality is, when Basilak's on, he's really pretty good. But he has struggled as of late. But, again, the bottom line for this game is going to be whoever can run the ball and stop the run at least a little bit is going to win the game.
Dan asked on Facebook, any players out for the Missouri game? I haven't seen the injury report as of today, so we'll see. Brent, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line from George. George says, "Hey guys, did y'all see, Shane? You might want." He says Shane might want to be careful this weekend. Did you see where the Texas Tech radio guys got suspended by the Big 12? Hey, I've never complained about the officiating. Now, Mick, on the other hand, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Mick gets after those officials sometimes.
Listen, I listen to, I have satellite radio, and I can listen to a lot of play-by-play and do that. My goodness, if that ever happened in the SEC, every broadcast team would be in trouble every week, would they not?
Yeah. It's that's just the way it is in this league.
It is.
Brent, real quick, Georgia's playing. Who are they playing? Charleston Southern. Or somebody like that?
Charleston Southern.
Yeah, we know the outcome of that game, but It came out on Twitter and social media. Kirby's little speech right before they ran out of the locker room at halftime. I don't know if you heard it or not. I know.
Yes, I did.
Different people have different thoughts on that, folks. That's just how a locker room is. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I had zero problem with it.
Shane, you and I have heard worse in a high school locker room, haven't we?
Yeah, I may have been the one screaming it.
Look, people need to get over that. That's just the way that it is, and you're doing anything you can to get fired up. Kirby, no, and I get the fact Gator fans don't like it, but I can tell you if the roles were reversed and Florida had been ahead, you would have certainly appreciated Mullen saying the same thing or something similar. That's just the way it is. But, look, I'm not condoning the language or anything like that, but it's just football, and that's what people say at halftime. So there's no use to get bent out of shape with that at all.
No, not at all. LSU's hosting Terry Bowden and his crew, the Warhawks from Louisiana Monroe. I went back and watched some of the LSU Alabama game, and then I got to see the other night LSU played Arkansas. It was the night game. Those guys are coaching, especially their defensive guy. And I don't even know who the coordinator is at LSU, Brent. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody coach the way he's coaching right now, knowing it doesn't matter if they win or lose the game. He is going like cover zero, all-out blitz on almost every play. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
It is. His name is Durante Jones, and he's gotten some pretty good praise from Ed Orgeron for what they've done. Couple of quick LSU notes. Cam Wire, one of their offensive linemen, is done for the year. Now, one thing to remember, Max Johnson is going to start the game against Louisiana Monroe with Terry Bowden and Rich Rodriguez as offensive coordinator. But that Max Johnson's going to start, but Garrett Nussmeier played a lot in the last game, in the Arkansas game, because he had one. Here's the dilemma for them real quick. If Nussmeier plays one more game, he loses his red shirt. Remember, they give you 4 games you can play in now, which is one of the better rules I ever came up with. So the question for Nussmeier and his family is going to be, if you want to play in the Louisiana Monroe game, if you want to play next week against A&M, you can, but you're going to lose your red shirt year. So that's something Nussmeier is going to have to take into consideration, and partly because he probably didn't want to lose his job necessarily to Nussmeier yet, or Jerron's going to start Max Johnson against Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah, in Starkville, I know Coach Spurrier's going to this game to see Bubba. Tennessee State and old Eddie George, the old Titans running back, who's the head coach of Tennessee State, rolls into Starkville. And Mississippi State, are they 6-4 right now, Brent?
Yeah,
that sound right?
And listen, and State's got 6-4. With Tennessee State and the Egg Bowl with Ole Miss next week.
Yeah, their record should be better than that, quite honestly. They got hosed in that one game at Memphis, but
they did.
I think Leach has done a tremendous job. He's got a lot of big wins in year 2 under his belt.
Tell you what, they played well. As Shane said, Eddie George is coaching Tennessee State. That surprised a lot of people that he did. And Mike Leach in his first 2 years has wins at LSU, at A&M, and at Auburn. That says a lot. Look, Leach is not a joke. Leach knows what he's doing. I know he's unorthodox, but that kind of endears him to people. But the guy can really coach. But I'm just telling you, Shane, I think they've got to be careful in this game after the big comeback against Auburn, or they mature enough not to get sidetracked and sleepwalk through the first half. Now they'll win. I don't have any doubt about that. But you know how teams are. They can take teams too lightly and end up starting off very very poorly in games like this.
Yeah. We got a Facebook Live brought to you by Melton Law. John wants to know, Brent, do you have any inside information on Mullen's future at Florida? Do the next 2 games even play into that? I'll just tell you what I've heard. And like Shane, I hear from a lot of people. Now, some of this is true, some of it's not. My understanding is, what I've been told is, if they lose one of these next 2 games, particularly the FSU game, that at that point it very well may be over, and they're looking to hire another coach. Now I think they're evaluating everything that is going on. It's been a really difficult year, and you know, is Mullen going to have a say so on this? I think, and I'm guessing at some point he and Strickland have probably sat down and talked about where they're going, and they're doing the best that they can do. But Shane, I'm like you. I've heard about everything I can hear from different people on this one. Yeah, no question. Ole Miss hosts Vandy, coming off their big win against A&M. They sit at 8-2, and I want to say I saw on Twitter that Ole Miss has a chance to go undefeated at home. I don't know if they've ever done that. And also, there's reports out there that Lane Kiffin's a top candidate to be the next Miami coach. I don't see that happening at all.
Well. Now I will say this, because I've got some friends with the Ole Miss radio network. Lane wants to get back to Florida. He loves the state of Florida, but here's a reality. Yeah, the rumor is from Nevin Shapiro, who is this nutty Miami booster, frankly, that it caused a lot of problems a few years ago, and he's saying that Lane Kiffin is the top candidate for Miami. Now, Manny Diaz still has that job. He hasn't been fired yet. Let's also keep that in mind. They did lose their athletic director this week, which is kind of unusual how that happened, as far as AD going first instead of the football coach. But Ole Miss will beat a hapless Vandy, have nine wins, and if they win the Egg Bowl, would be 10-2. That would be amazing, would it not?
Tell me about it. All my Ole Miss people, they know they're getting ready to lose Lane to somebody. They're hoping they can keep Jeff Levy possibly as the head coach. We'll see. You know,
correct.
Speaking of the Miami AD, I saw also that Gino Toretta could possibly be the next AD at Miami.
Wow, that would be fascinating. Look, frankly, and you probably know Gino. I don't, but I know people who do, and I think that'd be a pretty good hire.
Yeah, Gino's been a very successful business guy, and he also has a touchdown radio and stuff. But that's just what I heard, and I saw it on Twitter today. Brent,
sure.
Give us you got any nuggets before we let you go?
Well, and again, I think we pretty well covered. Well, Tennessee does host South Alabama, and Tennessee again. I think Josh Heupel will get a few votes for Coach of the Year. South Alabama is really good on third down. Got the best run defense in the Sun Belt. But and I give Tennessee a lot of credit. They played Georgia tough. That they got out. They certainly weren't afraid of them. So again, Heupel has done a really, really good job. Texas A&M hosts Prairie View. The Prairie View quarterback is Jawan Pass, who used to be at Louisville. That may be a familiar name to everybody. So another big week coming up for the league, Shane.
Yep, no doubt about it. It's like you said, it's crazy. Just thinking about the Egg Bowl being next Thursday and Iron Bowl,
really?
It's gone by so fast. Brent, we appreciate your time as always. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week, bud.
Enjoyed it, Shane. And as always, appreciate the folks listening and the questions from them, too.
Absolutely. That's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird. Take our first time out of the program. Come back. We'll crank up the Baker Sporting Goods High School Roundup with our main guy, Mike Ridaught from the PrepZone.com and Main Street Daily News, talking second round of the high school playoffs. You're watching and listening to Pot Up Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Center State Bank is now South State Bank, but they still put business first. Understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking for member FDIC. I want to thank Brent Beaird for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. We're going to go back to the Titan MR Hotline, and we're joined by Mike Ridaught, who covers high school sports very, very well for Main Street Daily News and the PrepZone.com. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Shane. How are you?
You resting up, my man? It's been a whirlwind with high school football and volleyball. Let's do this. Before we get into football, Mike. Locally, we had a state champion crowned. Santa Fe Lady Raiders win. Is it their first ever title?
First ever title. And before I talk about them a little bit, kudos to the Buholtz girls cross country team. They brought home the 4A state title. So it's nice to see, a couple of different sports, state team championships. But yes, Santa Fe won their first ever volleyball state championship yesterday down in Fort Myers. And, it's pretty much been a team on a mission. It was their third trip to the final game in the last 4 years. And their coach, Eric Marshall, told me that it was pretty much championship or bust. He would not consider it a successful season unless they won a state title. This is a team, Shane, that was nationally ranked. In fact, they were number 3 in the country by Max Preps going into that volleyball game. Interesting thing about that is the number 2 team in the country is Ponte Vedra. Ponte Vedra was the last team that Santa Fe had lost to when they went on a 15-game winning streak. They lost to them in 5. Ponte Vedra got upset for the 6A state championship game last night. Ponte Vedra was ranked second in the country. So Santa Fe will move up to 2, and I don't know if they'll get to number 1. The number 1 team in the country does have one more game, but they were so their season's not over, but they're undefeated. It's a team out of California, Marymount. But yeah, kudos to Santa Fe volleyball and head coach Eric Marshall winning their first ever volleyball state championship. They've been runner-up a couple of times here in the last, as I mentioned, 3rd trip in the last 4 years that they've been to the title game. And they were down early in that first set, but they ended up coming back, I think, 11 unanswered to win that first set, 25-16, and they go on to sweep Calvary Christian of Fort Lauderdale to win the Class 4A state title.
John says on Facebook Live here, how about the Mosley Dolphins losing their first 2 sets, coming back to win the last 3 sets to claim the 5A state title? Back to Buchholz cross country. I mean, I don't know anything about cross country. I don't know why anybody would want to run cross country. Yeah, but congratulations to those girls. But how do they determine who wins a state? How you win a state title? I know how you could win an individual state title, but like a team sport in cross country. How's it work, Mike?
I believe, Shane, and again, I'm not completely up on it too, but I think they take the top 5 finishes from your team, and it's based on, you know, how your top 5 do. Gotcha. So you could have somebody win a state championship, but you may not win a team championship if you don't have the depth, you know, to come across the finish line, you know, and get some points. But Buchholz had 114 points. They won by 5 points over Newsom, you know, so it was a pretty close race. But big win for Buchholz. The area, Shane, has now brought home a state championship in each of the last 3 years. That also makes 13 cross-country titles overall. And we've got a recap of it at MainStreetDailyNews.com. But it's the first state championship for the Lady Bobcats since they won it in 2005. So it's been 16 years since they won a state title.
I had another dumb question about that. We're talking cross country today, it sounds like. How far are they running in this how far is a cross country event? How many miles?
Oh my gosh.
I'm putting you on the spot. My bad, Mike.
No, it's okay. I know that it's about a 20-minute race. If that means anything, I don't know, Shane, to be honest.
Okay. It's probably about 5 miles.
Ricky Quintana does a great job of covering cross country for us. He writes a weekly article. So you can probably go back and find that in the article at MainStreetDailyNews.com. But that's a good question. I'm not sure.
I knew we got great listeners. Javier says 3.1 miles.
3.1. Okay. All right.
Seems like it'd be longer than that. But
anyway. I was going to say 4 miles, but okay. Well, thanks. I'm glad we got some knowledgeable listeners out there.
Yes, we do. All right, let's switch gears to football. Second round of the playoffs. Still got a lot of local schools in the hunt. Just kind of give us a recap of what happened last week.
Okay, I would say that probably the biggest surprise as far as the area, and I'll even throw Ocala in there because actually that was one of the bigger upsets, Shane. If you look at the state playoffs on a state level, the biggest upset in the state was Plantation beating Dunbar, Fort Myers Dunbar. Plantation was the number 8 seed. Dunbar was the top seed. In fact, they had the 5th highest RPI in the state overall, and they got upset 44-20. But the second biggest upset could have been that Denellen game because Denellen was the 2 seed. Bishop Moore out of Orlando was the 7 seed. And Denellen got beat. I thought Denellen might get to the region final. Now, I also didn't know that LJ Fitzpatrick, and I still don't know what happened, why he did not play, but he did not play against Bishop Moore, and he led the team in rushing, receiving, touchdowns, interceptions. He was a key player for them. But I've seen Bishop Moore this year. I had not seen Denellen this year. The problem for Denellen is they didn't have the ball but 3 times in the first half. So when you play keep away from the other team, you know, it's going to limit your scoring. So congratulations to Bishop Moore. They got a big win. They were the 7th seed in Region 2, 5A Region 2. So that was the biggest upset. You know, we talked about this last week about the seeding. You know, for 5A through 8A, your top 4 district champions are seeded, 1 through 4, and then they take the next team with the highest RPI and throw them in as a number 5 seed. So we mentioned that it probably needs to be tweaked. And case in point, that Gainesville-Tallahassee-Lincoln game, Shane, Gainesville actually was not a 4-5. That was a 3-6. But Lincoln, again, they're a perennial power. They were clearly the better team as a 6 seed than Gainesville was as a 3 seed. But because Gainesville won a district title, they were seeded, 1 through 4 and got the 3 seed. Lincoln, got the 6 seed based on their RPI. But that was a Lincoln football team, Shane, that entered the game with a 6-game winning streak. They had only allowed 7.5 points per game during that 6-game winning streak. So they won their 7th in a row. They beat Gainesville 34-7. And Gainesville was in it for a half, but Lincoln's quarterback I was impressed with. He's a Maryland commit, Perry Fisher, played well in that game. It was a tough matchup for Gainesville, but nonetheless, a great season for GHS. They won 8 games. Again, if you go back and look at Gainesville, now it was a COVID-shortened season last year. They only played 6 games. They only won 2. They won 2 the year before. So the last 2 years combined, Gainesville won 4 games. They won 8 games this year and won a district championship. So, certainly want to send out a shout out to Doc Pollard for the job that he did turning around that Gainesville program. Some of the other teams that I guess you could call it a surprise just based on the fact that North Marion won a district title. But again, that 5 seed West Florida probably should have been seeded higher. That was in Class 5A. So a total of 3 Marion County teams went down, and a total of, I believe, 2 Alachua County teams went down. So here's what we've got left. Class 1A, Chiefland, which received a bye, will play Mayo Lafayette. Union County beat Trenton. They will go to Hilliard. Now, Union County, even though they're undefeated, they got the 3 seed in 1A Region 3. Hilliard is the 2 seed. So the winner of that Chiefland-Lafayette game will play the winner of the Hilliard-Union County game in the region final. Hawthorne got a bye. They were the number 1 seed down in Region 4. They will play Wildwood, which beat Fort Meade, and then Stark Bradford, which beat Newberry. Well, they have to make the long trip to Pahokee. Pahokee's the 2 seed. Bradford's the 3 seed in Class 1A. Also in Class 3A, it's a game that we're going to broadcast on 106.9 FM, also online at imcountryradio.com. PK Young and Trinity Catholic should be a good one, Shane. PK Young with a 56-7 win. That was a season high in points for PK Young. It's a team that started 1-3, but they've won 7 games in a row. So they're peaking at the right time. And all 3 of those losses, Shane, came to teams that are in the playoffs. They lost to Hawthorne and Union County, which is undefeated, both undefeated in 1A. And they also lost to 4A Baldwin. Those 3 teams have a combined record of 25-3. So it's not like they lost to some teams they should have beaten. I think it made them better. But they're playing a Trinity Catholic team that lost their first 2 of the year, and they have since won 6 in a row. I think size is going to be a concern for PK Young going into this game, because this Trinity Catholic team has, I believe, 5 or 6 guys that are 6'6" or taller, including their big 6'6", 330-pound star lineman Tommy Kinsler. He's already got offers from Florida, Florida State, and Miami. This game will be in Ocala at Trinity Catholic. It'll be a tough matchup for PK Young, but I do like the way that they're playing right now. It's a battle of the dual threat quarterbacks. AJ Small, 1,600 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. He also leads the team with almost 700 yards rushing. And then Cole Gonzalez of Trinity Catholic, he's averaging 10.5 yards per pass and 7.1 yards per rush. So really looking forward to that one. That's in Class 3A. Keystone Heights, Shane, their first playoff win in school history. I didn't even realize they had never won a state playoff game. And PK Young beat Keystone Heights in the regular season finale to give the Indians their only loss of the season. But they beat Umatilla 50-0. Now, it's a tough matchup this week because they have to travel to the Villages, which is the number 2 seed. I mentioned North Marion and Denellen both falling in Class 5A. Vanguard did roll 38-0 against Heritage. But they've got Lake Wells, and they've struggled with Lake Wells in the playoffs in the past. So it'll be a tough matchup. I think, both teams shut out their opponent. Vanguard will play this game at home. Congratulations to Brady Ackerman and the job he did at Bellevue. They did get beat by Auburndale, so they're eliminated. Also, Columbia got beat by Riverside, which is formerly Jacksonville Lee, Robert E. Lee. So Columbia is done. I mentioned Gainesville also losing Those are in Class 6A. And then Buchholz is that other area team left, Shane. Buchholz with a 35-7 win against Fleming Island of Orange Park. It was a running clock in the second half. Buchholz is 10-1. They've got Orange City University coming up in the regional semifinals on Friday, and we'll have an audio broadcast of that one at MainStreetDailyNews.com. So, yeah, we're obviously we've eliminated some teams, but I do like some of the teams that are still playing. I think in Class 1A, I could see Hawthorne, possibly a Chiefland getting to at least to the state semifinals. Whether or not they can win a state championship, we'll see. You got Baker over there, the defending state champions. You got Madison County still alive. The thing about and I think I mentioned this to you last week, the thing about the state semifinals is that they reseed everybody. So you can't just look at the bracket and think, okay, well, Chiefland, Union County, whoever comes out of that is going to play Baker in the state semifinals. It won't work that way. They will reseed them. And that's bad news for a team like Buchholz, Shane, because they could be going, if they win this week and they're, able to beat Niceville or Nice, who they would play in the region final, they could go to St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale for the state semifinals. But we'll see. I mean, Buchholz has had a great year.
How could Buchholz and St. Thomas, one's way up here up north and the other one's down south, be on the same side? They wouldn't play for the state title?
They're not. If you look at the bracket, you would think, okay, Buchholz would come out of the north and St. Thomas Aquinas would come out of the south. Yeah. That's how it was done in the past. But because they reseed the teams after the region final for the state semifinals, it affects how it looks in the bracket. Case in point, you look at, high school volleyball. I mentioned that Dixie County had made it to its first ever state semifinal. And they were supposed to, I can't remember who they were supposed to play, but a team that they could have beaten, I think it was Pearson Taylor. Instead of playing Pearson Taylor, they had to go to 8-time defending state champion Sneads for the state semifinals instead of playing Sneads in the state championship game. So the fact that they reseed them in the state semifinals affects the bracket, and it doesn't matter who's in the north and who's in the south. It's based on those seedings.
I don't know if I like that. That doesn't sound right. Yeah. But anyway.
It's confusing, a little confusing.
Yeah. I would say I think Buchholz is going to go a very long ways. I think it's so cool about our 1A schools in this area. There's so many good teams, and they're going to be matched up. It's good football as well. Real quick, at Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. Before we let you go, Mike, high school basketball has cranked up, correct?
Yes. Well, girls. Boys are playing preseason games this week, but girls basketball is underway. Boys basketball regular season will start next week. So I've got enough on my plate, getting through the football playoffs and then obviously focusing on basketball here coming up. So boys basketball, Gainesville will have a new coach. Buchholz will have a new coach. It's just weird, having Santa Fe is going to have a new coach in boys basketball. So it's going to be kind of a strange year to see these new faces on the sidelines for those three schools. Santa Fe, as you know, got all the way to the state championship game last year. So, great run for the Raiders basketball team, and they'll have a new coach this year.
Yep. And then the state title locations for the football games have been announced. Isn't it in Tallahassee and then down in Fort Lauderdale or somewhere? Yes.
The 1A through 3A state championship games will be returning to Gene Cox Stadium. That is in Tallahassee. And the 4A through 8A state championships games will be played in Fort Lauderdale. It's DRVP&K Stadium. It's newly renovated, though. So, I think that, it should be interesting. I'm not sure how many, what the capacity is. Actually, here, I got it right here. Tallahassee, it's 6,500 capacity. 18,000 capacity, Shane, down in Fort Lauderdale, that other stadium. It's where they have it's the Major League Soccer down there in Fort Lauderdale. So from what I hear, it's a really beautiful stadium.
Gotcha. Well, good stuff as always, Mike. Once again, let everybody know how they can listen to your call tomorrow night.
Yeah, appreciate it. We'll be on 106.9 FM. You may be able to get that in Ocala. Certainly you can get it in Gainesville and surrounding areas. But if you can't get it in Ocala, you can also listen to it online at imcountryradio.com. I've got a story that's going to be up today about PK Young and Trinity Catholic that you can check out at MainStreetDailyNews.com. I'll have a recap of the PK Trinity Catholic game on Friday night at MainStreetDailyNews.com. And as I mentioned, our audio game of the week is Buchholz and University. That will be at MainStreetDailyNews.com as well. Our coverage down in Ocala, Trinity Catholic, begins at 7 o'clock. It's a 7:30 kickoff, so we'll do a 30-minute pregame on Friday night.
Good stuff as always, buddy. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome, Shane. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yep, that's Mike Ridaught. Does a tremendous job covering high school sports. Going to take our final time out, come back, wrap up this Thursday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Are you tired of being sidelined by nagging pain? Hi, I'm Emmett Smith, Hall of Famer and Dance with the Stars champion. Happy to tell you about QC Kinetics and their biologic therapies for treating pain without drugs or surgery.
Are you suffering from chronic pain in your hips, knees, shoulder, or lower back? Are you tired of living with arthritis pain? QC Kinetics offers natural pain treatment that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints.
Listen, I know pain, and I've seen firsthand how powerful biologic therapies can be. Patients at QC Kinetics rave about their result because they're getting their lives back. They're getting moving again.
These exciting regenerative treatments used to be available only to pro athletes like Emmett. Now they're available to anyone thanks to QC Kinetics. Call today for your free consultation.
Get long-lasting results from my friends at QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. In North Central Florida, call 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, Prime and Pearl, Regal Cinemas, Le Macaron, Dave & Buster's, Bass Pro Shops, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Now serving brunch on Saturday and Sundays. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. I want to thank Mike Ridaught and our good friend Brent Beaird join us on the Titan MRI hotline. Let me get to this day in sports brought to you by Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp's hiring members with all levels of experience, $1,000 signing bonus. Give them a call, 352-376-2366. This day in sports, back in 1949, the NL batting champ, Jackie Robinson, who hit .342, also wins the National League MVP. The great Jackie Robinson. It's brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Gators play tonight in basketball. See if they can build off their win over Florida State. They play Milwaukee around 6 o'clock tonight. I don't know if it's on TV or not, but make sure you tune in tomorrow. Tell all your friends and family about our program. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Today's show is a wrap brought to you by Wrap Spot. See you tomorrow, folks.
1st and 10. Matthews, near side, wide open, Alonzo Sullivan. He may go. Touchdown, Gators.